So this next clip is a little bit longer, but I think it's important for us to listen to what she has to say, but even more important, I think, for her fellow Republicans and MAGA to hear what she has to say.
Years ago, I was lifelong born and bred Republican. I didn't believe fact checkers. I thought they were all biased and stuff. Well, one day, somebody on my Facebook page made a post, and I don't even remember what it was, but I was sure they were wrong because it went against everything I was told as a Republican. Excuse me. And so I was going to prove them wrong, but I wanted to know exactly what I was talking about. So I did the research and I found out I was wrong. So I started thinking maybe I'm wrong about other things. I don't know. So I started researching other political topics, and I found out sometimes, or a lot of times, there's articles that support both sides. So which one's telling the truth? So I took a fact-checking tutorial myself, and I started fact-checking a lot of things. And you know what I found out? I found out that while both sides may lie some, Republicans lie a whole lot more and a whole lot bigger, like way bigger, crazy stuff. So that's what I found out. Now, Democrats sometimes may not always be truthful, but most of the time it's just like an exaggeration, or they could even be off on numbers. One of the biggest things for me was finding out that there was welfare for the rich. I was raised to believe, we shouldn't be funding these poor people. I found out we're giving billionaires money. That's crazy. We're giving billionaires money in handouts in the form of subsidies and tax breaks, and sometimes like Warren Buffett's that come out and said that one time he paid less in taxes than his secretary. That's crazy, y'all.
At least you start reading.
And yeah, that was one of the big things to me that took me from being a Republican to a Democrat. Abortion was hard for me though, because I was all pro-life and everything. So one of the things I did is I looked up what happens in countries that outlaw abortion. Well, guess what? It's not pretty at all. You're talking about overrun state orphanages, and you're talking about a lot of misery. And it doesn't even stop abortion. It just stops safe abortion. And then the other thing I did is I looked up reasons that people get abortions. And I read a lot of their stories, and there was a lot of stories that I don't know what I would do if I was in their place. And then that's when I decided it was none of my business what somebody else does with their body. I was taught from a young age, you just got to pull yourself up by the bootstraps. Yeah, well, bootstraps can't take that kind of weight sometimes and they break. It's not always that easy. There's people out here that are busting their butt in 2 jobs and they can't even get enough to live on. And then, God forbid, that they are making it and something happened, they get a cancer diagnosis, they break a leg. I mean, just anything that puts them off of work for any amount of time. And the next thing you know, they're homeless. Not everybody has family or friends they can fall back on.
That's right.
So it's really opened my eyes. And I highly suggest that everybody, because there is so much misinformation out there, that everybody take a fact-checking tutorial. I won't tell you which one to take. You can Google fact-checking tutorial and just pick one and start fact-checking. And I swear to you, it doesn't really take that long, and it gets easier the more you do it.
Yep.
If you don't, then you're just picking which things you like the best. You're just picking news by your bias. Take a fact-checking tutorial, and if that don't make you a Democrat, I'll be surprised. I really be surprised.
Oh my God! It was like she was living on another planet.
There is hope.
The lady has
There is.
landed on planet Earth. She is here.
Good
We
for
hope
her.
she enjoys her stay. Welcome.
Yeah.
Welcome back to reality.
Yeah.
And she, you know, and she hit it too. So she's been doing some educating, right? Confirmation bias is huge, right? I only want to see things that prove that I'm right.
The feelings that I went through watching this, I went from like, bitch, shut the fuck up to wow.
It's like she lived a whole life in this one little segment.
Just like how she's going around on that track. Right, Keisha? She was walking, she had us going.
But sometimes that's what it takes, a hard walk.
But it gives me hope, though. It gives me hope. So I wanted to use this as a media scholar. So I love some of the things she said, and fact checking is so important. But we also need to understand the difference between misinformation and disinformation, right? Because there's both out there, right? So misinformation, usually incorrect information spread by accident. Disinformation, which we get in the way May says it, hella lotta, is disinformation. And those are straight out lies. And those are some of the things that we've covered today. Something I haven't done yet in our group is promote my book. So I have a book that I put out in January. It took several years to write. This is just one portion of it. I still have another one, but it's Reclaiming Truth, AI's Role in the Disinformation Age. And some of the things in the chapters, it's short. I did it that way on purpose. But there are a lot of resources that I give people in here on how to do really good fact checking, how to really determine what's disinformation and misinformation, what are the things to look for, how AI is, you know, obviously a big part of it today. But it is out on Amazon. So that is one resource. But as she said, Google it. There are a lot of sources out there. Right? But you have to take the time. You have to fact check.
Reading is fundamental, I said.
Yeah.
You can't just listen to people talk. Even when you go to church, you can't just listen. You got to go and check.
Do your research.
Yep. Absolutely.
I had never heard of a fact-checking tutorial. Like, I know that kids in school now get media literacy classes and training, but adults don't have that. And if you didn't grow up in the right like advent of the internet, you kind of lost. So
I was a part of the generation that first started doing that. Like there was like, I forget the name of the website that it was, but it was like a whole like database where we were only allowed to get like anything off the internet through those like scholarly articles. It was a whole thing, because if you couldn't just go on Wikipedia, because anybody could just post whatever on there. Maybe it's a little better, but at first when Wikipedia first came out, anybody could throw whatever, you could change anybody's stuff. So information was just, you had to really comb through it. And when the internet first started really getting advanced like that, I think right around my generation when I was in school, they really started teaching us how to kind of comb through information in the internet, even by checking the URLs of stuff. You know what I mean? Like .coms, you want to do like .orgs and whatever. So, but that's a literacy that didn't come until pretty much like I was like one of the first generations to really start even scraping the surface of that, you know?
Yeah,
it was
media
my
literacy.
son.
Yeah.
It was my son that said, "Mommy," when he went into his freshman year of college, he said, "Mommy, you need to start learning this." And I said, "Oh, he's a nice son. I'll go and listen."
He's been right from time to time. Yeah, media literacy is what we're missing in our society, and critical thinking, actually. So education teaches
not criticizing thinking.
Not criticizing. Critical
one.
thinking. Yeah, not listening to sound bites and sharing them, but actually doing the work. Yeah. And there are Snopes they have some fact-checking sites, not just tutorials, but sites like Snopes, factcheck.org.
I don't know what a Snope is.
Snopes. It's just a place like you can subscribe and get emails, and Snopes will do research on some of the hot topics in the news and let you know what they've discovered. They do the research.
Oh,
And
okay.
they'll let you know what is true and what is not.
Is that when my son be telling me that he lets AI do some of his checking?
AI is a good place to start. But you don't want to take that as gospel either. You still want to, if you use AI, this is my thing on AI, because obviously I talk about it. If you're going to use AI, this is a great place to start, but ask for sources.
Yes, 100%.
Ask
always.
for the source material, always.
No, I could use Snopes instead.
But some people, that's what they like to use, and it's great. But get the sources. Go to the source.
And try to use more than one source, like at least 2, but ideally 3.
Yeah, cross referencing is like super kind of easy too.
And make sure that if it's a news source like AP or PBS or some of those that are nonprofits, you're going to get more truth-based information.
Yeah, I like PBS.
Yeah, PBS is great.
So nonprofits, those are the things that we want to look at. But she gives me hope.
Yeah.
Right.
And with the word hope there, because Kim, I've been kind of like calling bullshit on like the hope that people have been having a little bit, but that lady, actually, that's the type of hope that I can grasp onto and believe in and feel like, okay, this is something that we can work with. Some people just hoping that they don't get kidnapped on the street. I don't know if I can really help you with that one, but this is something that really feels like has traction and can actually change something.
I think which also means that we need to welcome them kind of back into the fold, right?
Oh yeah, she can come.
And not be critical. Because people do suffer from confirmation bias. That's a real psychological. Cognitive dissonance is another one. So there are psychological, parts of our psyche and personality that do affect what we believe.
Yeah.
So when I told you about my next door neighbor that didn't like talking about politics, and I asked, could I say some of the things she said on the show, and she said no. Now she calls me for my opinion and brings up politics. I'm like, what?
Andre, you have a new friend. You've deepened your friendship with your neighbor.
I know what's wrong.
That's good. That's another thing that gives me hope right there.
Yeah, for
community,
and
bridging that gap.
This is a true story.
Yeah, bridging that gap.
I'm not Republican, huh?
We the people unite. We the people unite. We have to
That's
think about that. We the people unite. It's not we the Democratic people, or we the we the blue, we the whatever, we the people. So it's everybody. But we need to unite.